Where are you from? Where you grew up? How did you become a Christian? Are you Christian? How did you become one?
All right, so man, I'm from Knoxville, Tennessee, east side of Knoxville. And I grew up like any regular kid, man, working and playing in the neighborhood, fighting, doing all the type of things. Um, but my path was a little bit different, man. My mother was a teacher at a HBCU,
Uh-huh.
Pastor Randy, so I was able to, kind of be up there I was raised on an HBCU campus
Oh,
from 1 to 17, man. I was up there. She was a coach, volleyball coach,
oh.
as well as
Which one was it?
Knoxville College.
Okay. Okay.
Volleyball coach as well as a cheerleading coach. And so I traveled to all of the HBCUs as a young kid. So whether I,
Did you see any of those drumline competitions?
man, Casey had a nice little band back in the day. And so, man, I was able to see, even though I lived in the hood, I was able to see people who looked like me, Pastor Randy, doing great things.
Yeah.
And so, even
Yeah.
as a young age, man, something was different about me. My friends, some of them have been to prison, some of them are still struggling. Man, they said, man, you always kind of walk different, and I think it's because my mother
Yeah.
walked different. And so, yeah, man, Knoxville, Tennessee, came to Chattanooga, man, went to college, did my thing, Pastor Randy, like we all do, and just, man, kind of fell a need for Jesus, man. I had a son, a teen father. So I
Okay.
had a son at a very young age, man, and I was like, man, I was a decent athlete, but I wasn't that good. So I kind of gave all of that stuff up, man, to raise my son. I wanted to I want everything that I needed as a child from my dad. I wanted to make sure that my son had that. So
Okay.
I stopped everything.
Huh.
And
Wow.
so yeah, yeah,
So what led you to Christ?
man, just the need, man. The party and the women, me being a father, man. I needed something, and I didn't really know what that was. And so, man, I'll never forget. Um, I was online for a fraternity, and man, I went to a church. So one of my buddies, man, rest in peace, Stanley Dean, no longer here. He's dead
Mm.
now, but he invited me to a church, man.
Hmm.
Pastor Baron Ammons, the guy I told you kind of about yesterday, and he
Yeah.
was preaching a service about a sermon, man, about God wants you. And I'm still in college now. And so, man, I'll never forget, man, the drawing that I had. And the crazy thing about it, Pastor Randall, was I ain't even know the guy.
Hmm.
You feel me? And it felt like he was preaching right to me.
I hear you. I
And
hear
so,
you.
man, for some reason, man, my life shifted that day. I'm not saying I was perfect, not saying I still didn't get into stuff, man, but I knew that my life had a greater calling than what was on it before.
Praise God. It's really wonderful. I love conversion stories.
Hmm.
I love it when I hear people talk about how Jesus changed them.
Yeah,
And some people are obviously you and I have met people whose lives are really messed up.
sure,
You know,
sure,
everything from murder to rape to,
sure,
just extreme poverty, gang problems, whatever.
sure.
And they meet Jesus and Jesus changes them from the inside out.
Yeah,
That is amazing. And then there are other people who are like Sunday school kids.
sure.
They grew up right. They had good parents,
Right, sure,
but they still needed Christ.
sure, exactly.
And then they became born again by God's grace.
Yeah,
So
amen.
I'm happy that has happened to you.
Thank you.
Praise the Lord.
Thank you, Pastor. Thank you.
So now I see I got you gave me a copy of this book.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, by the
Yeah,
way,
of course, man.
because I'm too cheap to buy books.
No,
And
no, we got
anytime I get a free book, I'm happy.
you.
But I want to read something
Okay,
from this book.
okay.
Um, you talk about walking into an interview with the chief of police
Yeah,
of Chattanooga.
yeah,
And I remember that chief, Chief Fred Fletcher.
yeah.
Uh, and this is that paragraph that I thought was really interesting. He said, I
Okay.
told Chief Fred Fletcher, Justin Wilkins, and Tracy Arnold that crime was not just about crime. It was the echo of poverty, the shadow of trauma, the silence of fatherlessness, the weight of illiteracy, and the ache of mental illness.
Yeah.
That's a powerful paragraph.
Thank you, Pastor.
Well written.
Thank you, Pastor.
But tell us what happened. They were looking for you for a job.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
tell us about that
So
job.
I was in an interview, and so public safety coordinator is what the book was titled. So, Pastor, in any interview, uh, You know, the way I grew up, my mom always told me, man, you got to be 2 steps ahead. You got to be ready. You got to be on time. You got to look
Mhm.
nice, but you got to have a plan as well.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so, Pastor, I came into my interview, man. You know, I told them what was going to happen when they hired me. Hey,
Huh.
we're going to look at crime from a social economic lens. We're going to look at it from these 4 levels. The big rock, Pastor, being poverty. The second
Mm.
rock being untreated mental illnesses, Pastor. The third rock being illiteracy, and
Mm.
the fourth rock being fatherlessness. And in my career, Pastor, that's dealing with violent criminals and things like that. They always landed in one of those things.
Mm.
No one that I've met, Pastor, who did a violent crime woke up one morning and said, "Hey, man, let's go blow somebody's brains out, or let's go sell dope, or let's go do it."
Uh-huh.
It's
Uh-huh.
always been a something that happened to them early on, Pastor,
Mm.
that never got situated.
Mm. Mm.
And so I told them that when I came, we cannot arrest our way out of this problem. We
Oh, wait,
had
say that again.
we cannot you can't arrest your way out of this problem.
So we can't lock up enough people to stop it
Yeah,
all.
you can't arrest your way out of problem. We got to begin to deal with intervention and prevention, which back in the day in the criminal justice world, Pastor, was a misnomer.
Huh.
Nobody want to talk about that. They just wanted to talk about, hey, you did this crime, you're gonna do this time. And so,
Mm.
man, I stood in front of that and I said, hey, nah, man, we're gonna advocate for those guys. And advocation is only people for fighting for people, Pastor, who can't fight for themselves. And I'll never forget the Lord told me that when I got the job, Pastor, I did get the job after the interview. Everything went well. The Lord told me to leverage my life for that of people.
Mm. Mm.
Don't play, even though I was in a political position, Pastor, don't be political. Use your life.
Mm.
Because sometimes people get to a level and we don't use our life for other people. So
Yes.
I got in the mayor's office, but man, I turned that thing into a place of discipleship.
Well, hallelujah. Okay, now let's get this straight. We're talking
Okay.
about, and by the way, for those of you just tuning in, we're talking about the unseen work, the Ministry of Public Safety, a book written by Troy Rogers, who he and I are sitting here in Orlando, Florida, in a hotel room,
Yeah.
waiting to go to this conference, and really grateful that you're letting me interview you.
Man, I'm grateful to
Uh,
shout out to Pastor Randy. When I first got to the city, Max, I always hear about this guy and this church, this multi-ethnic church that was doing wonderful things when that really wasn't a thing in Chattanooga, man. So I know he's been an advocate for our community for years, standing up for what's right, and I've always admired him for that. So I'm honored to be with you.
well, thanks, Troy. You can keep talking.
Yeah, no, I've always been honored. Man, such a wonderful human being, just a great
Oh,
man.
stop.
Yeah, he know it. It's a great guy, man.
So, Troy, describe your job description.
Okay.
We're talking about the city of Chattanooga.
Yeah,
You have now been interviewed by the chief of police and a
yeah.
committee. I guess they were looking for
They
somebody.
were looking for somebody. Paul Smith, Pastor Randy, Paul Smith, which was the principal at Howard High School. He had done the job, then he resigned and went to New York.
Okay.
So I came up, had, like I say, got the job. Uh, public safety. And so at that time, Pastor, they had this thing called the Violence Reduction Initiative. It was called the
Oh,
VRI.
okay.
It was one of Mayor Burke's initiative, and he needs somebody to run it. So that's what I ran.
The Violence Reduction
Violence
Initiative.
Reduction
Was
Initiative.
Chattanooga experiencing
They
gang
was they
violence?
was they was experiencing a lot of gang violence at the time.
Mm.
And so that, and they really didn't know what was going on. So they hired me to go in and like I said, help guys who were coming home from prison,
Hmm.
help kids not get into prison, but also be an advocate for our community to show them how we can effectively love on our guys who are broken.
Right. You know, Bruce Wall, uh, who really started this program and invited me to be on it. He used to be a magistrate
Okay.
in Boston.
Okay.
And so he dealt with a lot of juvenile crime.
Yeah.
And then he would be out on the streets trying to reach young people. And they had, in Dorchester, where his ministry is, unfortunately, as with every major city and inner city, uh, teenagers getting killed and killing each other.
Mm-hmm.
So violence reduction is such an important thing.
Yes, sir.
So after hearing your interview,
Yeah.
They hired you.
Yeah, they hired me.
And did they give you any special mandates, or did they say, show us
Yeah.
what you got?
Well,
Or what?
so my objective for Mayor Burke was to lower non-fatal shootings, Pastor Randy, by 25%.
Uh-huh.
So non-fatal shootings is a shooting that where somebody doesn't get killed.
Oh, yeah.
So if we can lower people shooting a pistol by 25%, that's 25 people that's a possibility that don't get harmed.
Mm.
And so every year that I was able to do that, man, I was able to meet my goals in lowering non-fatal shootings by 25%. Mayor Burke said, "Hey, man, I trust you. Whatever you need to do that, do it." And man, so I just emptied the cup, emptied the bucket, man, on loving people and loving community. So we did all type of programs, some that we still do today. Shout out to my boy Shad, who does a lot of stuff with me in the community, in the jails, in the treatment centers. Like I said, it's the Ministry of Public Safety. I saw this opportunity as my church. I saw this opportunity as putting wings on the pulpit. And so everywhere I went, I was bringing Jesus by my life, by what I said.
Mm.
And so I would use that platform to
Okay,
talk
now
about
wait a
him.
minute, wait a minute, wait a minute.
Go
You're
ahead, Pastor.
working for the government,
I'm working for the government.
city government,
Yeah, city government.
and they let you talk about Jesus?
Well, I kind of, I did what I did.
Okay.
I was a man, deep convictions. And like I said, my prayer was always, God, if I get too far out there, you got to save me. And he always has. I always made sure that I was above board with my numbers, my data, my work. But when I had the opportunity to talk about the Lord, man, I was going to do it. And so, because that's who I am. I think a lot of times, Pastor, we get in these jobs, man, and we want to change up who we are. No, we got to continue to be who we are
Okay.
and let God and we don't even want to be blatant. We ain't gonna be disrespectful. Where there's opportunity for us to talk about the Lord, we're gonna
Yeah.
do it.
Now, for our listeners, there is a difference in culture in the South
Sure,
than up in the North.
sure.
And often in the North, somebody's going to threaten you with a court suit,
Yeah, yeah,
but in the South, it's almost expected. If you're a person of faith, they expect you to be a person of faith
sure.
and not hide it in a closet.
Nah, no doubt, no doubt. And so yeah, that's what I did, Pastor.
Now, before we talk about some of the particular strategies,
Okay.
talk about the problems. You just listed those four rocks that you called them.
Okay.
Take a few moments and explain to us what you mean by them.
Well, I'll just do it like this. I came up with this acronym for issues in our community. I called it ROAD, Pastor: Resources, Opportunity, and Exposure.
Okay.
And what I meant by that is, I think that we can always level the playing field if all of our children had resources, Pastor, if all of our kids had exposure, and all of our kids had resources, all of our kids had opportunities, all of our kids had exposure. Let me give you a quick story. When I went to one of my first places was Brainerd High School,
Okay.
and
That's a high school in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
predominantly black high school, a lot of gang problem. Dr. Charles Mitchell was there, and they gave me a group of all gang members.
Mm.
And so, like I said, Pastor Randy, my background is being raised up at a HBCU.
Okay.
Pastor Randy, I took 50 gang kids to an HBCU football game, college fair, parade.
All right.
And I'll never forget it. A lot of them, Pastor Randy, had never been outside of Chattanooga. A lot of them had never been, anywhere out of town, but we went on a trip.
Yeah.
We catered a bus, man, we had food, it was laid out. And so, Pastor, we went, hung out, had a good time, and I'll never forget on the way back, the bus was quiet. I'm like, man, what's going on? The bus was quiet. And the kids were saying, man, Mr. Ross, man, it's the greatest trip that we've never been on anything that's great. It's something outside of Chattanooga. There's people who look like me who are outside of my city doing wonderful things. And I realize that I can have that. And Pastor Brandy, probably my greatest testimony. I want to shout. I can't shout because we're in a hotel room, so I ain't gonna jump up and scream. But in that group, I had two violent gang members. And so my testimony is, man, Pastor Randy, as soon as those guys got back, one of them, Pastor Randy, went straight back and got straight in the Navy.
Wow.
This is a violent gang member who they were saying had bodies on him, just that and the third. He comes back from the HBCU trip and goes straight to the office and gets in the Navy.
Mm.
Right now he's in San Diego right now. He's done over 10 years
How about
in the
that?
Navy.
How
Has a
about
family, doing well out there.
Mhm.
My other guy, Pastor Randy, who was a guy who was selling weed and dope and robbing people. He came back and got in the builders and trade. Now he's an entrepreneur, contractor, things like that. But they had to see it first. You know what I'm saying? These are kids
So
of
that was
humble beginnings.
exposure.
That was exposure.
Yeah.
That was opportunity and exposure.
Mm-hmm.
So they was exposed to stuff. And so when you have role, when you have resource, when you have opportunity, when you have exposure, Pastor, it gives them a light to be able to do other things.
Okay. Well, let's go over that again. Now,
Right.
remember, we're talking to Brother Troy Rogers, who your title for the city, you still have this job,
Public
right?
safety coordinator. Yep.
Public safety
10,
coordinator.
10 years.
He's not the chief of police.
No,
He's not the head of the fire department,
no.
but he's been hired by the city, especially to reduce violent crime
Yep.
among gang members, especially.
Yep.
So Troy is with us, and we're talking. He just gave us an acronym, ROE: resources, opportunity,
And exposure.
and exposure, and it's working.
It's working. It's working. It's working. Actually, this is the thing right now. We're doing something April 25th. Pastor Randy, you're invited. We're doing a reentry gala. A lot of times we don't, when guys come home from prison after long stays and who get into the community. Pastor Randy, a long time ago, it used to be the college guys, the guys who did great things that the kids really looked up to, Pastor Randy. But now it's the guys who come home from prison who they knew they used to be on their block selling dope, demonizing their community, who now are giving back to their community, working, taking care of their family. Those are our heroes in the high risk areas.
May it be so. May it be
So
so.
we're honoring them on April 25th.
Yeah.
It's one
Now,
of
for our listeners, every zip code in the country has a certain amount of people who come back from prison
Sure.
every month. Now, obviously, there's some counties, some zip codes, they don't have many people going to prison.
Sure.
But when you're in a big city and you're in the zip codes in that city, you got a lot of people. It's a revolving door,
Yes, sir.
right? They call it a recidivism rate.
Recidivism rate.
So somebody commits a crime, and that whole thing with the legal system can go on for a long time. You get arrested, you get out on bail, you commit another crime, the judges might let you go. Some people, they can't pay bail. They sit there for a long time waiting for their hearing, innocent or guilty. If they don't have the money, they're sitting in jail waiting till their day in court. And then they might plea bargain.
Right.
And they might walk. And
Right.
then they might, but if things in their heart hasn't changed, they're back on the street, they don't have a job, they're going back to selling dope.
Talk.
They're going back to gang banging.
Man, you preaching. So I love that you said that. It's no different than the things I talked about. And what we've seen, Pastor, is the guys who come home, who don't have a plan, who don't have family, who struggle with those things that I talked about, Pastor. They come back, and you're right, they do the same thing. I came up with this program. It's tier program, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Tier 1 are my guys, Pastor, who come home, who have really, really taken their time away seriously. Those are your guys who do pretty well. All they need is meet a Pastor Randy or Shad or Robert Maddox, Richard Maddox, and they gonna go on. You got your tier 2 guys, Pastor. You got those guys who are struggling a little bit more, but they're very resourceful, very hungry. And Pastor, you got the tier 3 guys that we just talked about. Those are your guys who struggle with the mental illness, who've been abused as young boys, who never was taught how to communicate. Those are your guys who had to do whatever they had to do in prison to survive.
Oh my.
And those are your guys who come out who can't read and write. They're still struggling. Those are your, what we call, Pastor Randy and I, your frequent flyers. They go in and out of the criminal justice system. A lot of those guys end up homeless. A lot of those guys end up, man, robbing just to provide for their, for people that they care about. So those are those tier 3 guys are those guys that we really in our city have to keep our hands on, because those are the ones that are really struggling.
Oh man. Oh man. I'll just tell you a quick story.
Go ahead, Pastor.
One time I was preaching in a state prison in Georgia, not far from Chattanooga.
Yeah.
And as I walked out, this inmate was there and he was crying. It's rare to see an inmate cry.
Sure.
And I said, what's going on? What happened? He said, Pastor, I can't become a Christian like you talked about.
Mm,
And I said, why not? What's holding you back?
mm,
And he said, I can't read.
yeah.
He said, I'd have to be able to read to become a Christian. And I said, first of all, I said, no, you don't.
Well, amen.
You don't have to be able to read to become a Christian.
Yeah,
But I said, why don't you become a Christian and we'll help you learn to read,
yeah,
But illiteracy is a reality. And even if it's not complete illiteracy, we call it functional
yeah.
illiteracy. Folks can't really get a job and they can't really move forward with it. So why don't you break down some of these problems we were talking about
Hmm.
that bring people into the prison system and get them in that revolving door, the frequent flyer thing you
Well,
talked
we just
about?
talked about it, and illiteracy is one. Like Pastor Randy said, I wrote a book, "The Dreams Are Unlocked by Reading," and this book right here is about a young African American boy who wants to help people who look like him read. Because we understand in the Black community, in our community, the third grade reading level of African American males, man, is where they look and they forecast prisons. Illiteracy in our community is really, really big and bad. So I wrote a book about a young man who wanted to take the mantle and help guys who look like him learn how to read. Basically, I'm talking about a problem in our community, but I used a book to talk about it. Reading illiteracy is very, very key. And a lot of times in a community where there's not a lot of resources, there's a food desert, there's books, and there's a lot of trauma. A lot of times the kids don't get what they need to get as far as reading is concerned. And as Pastor Randy said, if you know reading when you're young, that is when you're the kindergarten, pre-K, first grade, that is when your mind, that's when your reading level, your foundation gets together. A lot of times in our community, their kids don't get that. They really struggle. And it's hard to do your work if you can't read.
This is so true. And the studies I've done, in poverty, children of poverty, by the time they are 3 years old, they have a vocabulary of maybe 500 words.
Mhm.
But if you come from a middle class neighborhood, those children have a vocabulary of 1,000 words.
Come on.
And just the ability of your parents to be able to interact with little children. So you have uneducated parents
Come on, guys.
raising children, they can't help them learn words and learn how to read. If you I grew up in the projects, and I know that it's hard for poor families to have any books. You go into some poor people's homes. I mean, you have parents who love their kids, usually a single parent mom, trying to raise this child,
Trying to figure it out. Yeah.
love it, love the child, but they don't have money to go out and buy children's books. But if you go to a middle class home and you say, hey, can I see your children's bedroom?
Yeah.
If you're not careful, that bookcase will fall on you and kill you because there's so many books.
Man, you preaching right now. I know that. I know one time I got into it with some parents. I wouldn't really get into it, but we talked about the word gap. And
Mm.
so for some high schools, Pastor Randy know what I'm talking about. In our community, there's a 2 million word gap in certain high schools because of the books, the
Wow.
libraries, the things that are afforded to them.
Yes.
When you're in a elitism type of situation, man, you get the best of what there is.
Yeah.
But when you're in a school in a poverty area, you may not get the best because, like Pastor Randy said, it's a lot going on in that classroom, man. I'm just showing up, man.
Yeah.
Somebody just got killed last night. I'll never forget that we did this program at Orchard Knob Middle School because the teacher, the
This is
principal,
another school in the city of Chattanooga,
a teacher
Tennessee.
called me. She said, "Hey, I need y'all to do something." I was like, "What's going on?" She said, "Man, my kids don't. They told me that they're not gonna live to be 15 or 16. So why are we worried about them?"
Mm, mm.
And so we had to get over there and put together a program to let them know, man, that they're gonna make it. And Pastor Rand, I'll never forget, we did a breakout session, man. I'll never forget. We had 11 of these kids, man. These guys were stellar athletes. They came from broken homes. And I'll never forget what this young man said. He said, "Miss Rogers, I got a question." He said, "Man, I want a family and I want a wife and kids one day, but I ain't never seen it.
Mm.
How do I do it, Mr. Rogers? I want a wife, I want a family, but I've never seen it. I'm
Yes,
from a
yes,
single family home and I ain't never seen it, but I want that."
right.
And man, I was like, man, I said, man, we got to stand in the gap. And I looked at all of the mentors that I had. Said, man, you got to grab one. You got to grab one. And that's some of the things that we've done in the city of Chattanooga that we've been so successful, man, as we've been able to mentor young men.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so that is one thing. I'll never forget another thing. I came in the orchard one day, and this young man was screaming at his mother, and I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I'm old school. You don't talk to your mother like that. But the Holy Spirit said, listen. I listened, and the kid said, Mama, don't you know I pay all the bills in the house? What are
Mm,
you talking about? I'm the one who bought them shoes. I did it. I put gas in your car. Mama, don't be coming to me telling me because he fell asleep in class because he was tired.
mm,
He's the one who had to put his siblings on the bus. He's the one who had to get up,
mm.
iron their clothes, and cook breakfast. Then he came home and he fell asleep. He came to school and fell asleep.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so part of my role in our community is elevating and educating the schools and the community that, man, these kids ain't wanting to do this, but if they fall into a situation that happens, they're gonna survive. When
Mm.
you're in survival mode, it's hard to plan. It's hard to do what you need to do. I used to me in foster care, and I used to always say I would come and have to move these kids. Man, they would have plastic bags, had to move them, Pastor Randy, from one house to another house. I'll pick them up from school. Hey, man, you're not gonna be staying with the neighbors anymore. You're gonna have to stay with the Rogers now. It would be so deflating that a kid did not know where he would be from day to day.
Oh man.
And so that's what we're dealing
Yeah.
with.
You know, this conversation reminds me of got to check what time. What time is
Okay, Pastor. 9:30.
it? Okay, we got still got some time.
We good? Okay.
Um, we had a sports program that our church helped get started called uh, Chattanooga Sports Ministry. It started a big soccer league,
Mm-hmm.
and we would hire young adults, young women, especially to coach a team.
Yeah.
And we would have a league. So we had a bunch of teams, and we had a lot of coaches, and they would often bring their whole team to church.
That's it.
And one of our coaches uh, they were getting married, and she invited all the girls to come to the wedding.
Right.
And some of them had never been to a wedding. These are inner city middle school kids,
Right.
had never, ever been to a wedding. Nobody in their family had a wedding. Nobody they knew had a wedding. And they asked the same question. Why would you get married? What good does it do?
Right.
And one of the things that poverty has done in this country, especially in the Black community, it has destroyed marriage. And the problem is you got middle class people who are doing well financially, and they don't believe in marriage either. But marriage is one of the bedrocks of a stable society. And obviously, yeah, there are bad husbands and there are bad wives. There are families that are dysfunctional, but God has designed the family to raise children. And I grew up without a dad. It hurts me to this day, you know.
Pastor Randy, I'm shaking my head because I don't want to run. He up here, he preaching right now. Gandhi said that poverty is the worst form of violence, and it grip, like you Pastor Randy said, it grips and it destroys a lot of the things, like you said, the bedrock, the fabric of our families. I remember back in the day, man, and he went to Richard went to Brainerd, man.
Okay, we're talking about one of the brothers
One,
from
one, one. So the bedrock of Brainerd when I first got into town was strong Black African American males because the family structure.
Mm,
But
mm,
when in our city, when gentrification and redlining and things like that happen, you get people displaced. You get people all over the place, and a lot of times, man, that can rip open your families. I'll never forget. So, Pastor Randy's story. I was in my office one day. A guy came up in my office when I first started at the mayor's office. He said, "Hey man, what's going on?" I said, "Hey man, how you doing?" He said, "Man, I ain't having a good day." I said, "What's wrong?" He said, "Man, I just got out of prison. I did 17 years in prison, man, and I'm being honest on my applications, and I cannot find a job." He said, "Man, my child support's about to be due. Man, my fees and my fines are about to be due, man, and I can't go back to jail." Pastor Randy alluded to it earlier. When you go to prison, the only thing that stops is you. Your bills don't stop, the society don't stop, the
mm-hmm.
nation don't stop. So this guy was in a vacuum for 17 years, and when he got out, everything had started back, and he had no money to be able to help him. So he said, "Man, I'm not going back to jail. I'm gonna bust somebody upside their head before I do that." And I said, oh God, we got to do something. And that's when we started having a job fair for felons. We've been doing this for 10 years. We've been doing job fairs where it's a second chance job fair. We already advocate with the companies. Hey man, this guy has something on his record. Hey, we need you to hire him and pay him an amicable wage so that he can take care of his family. He can have benefits so that this guy can get back on his feet, because we understand that. But Pastor Randy, when we used to do those, we did a 2-day event, and people would come into the event with bonnets and stuff like that and pajamas on. Just to Pastor Randy's earlier thing, they never been trained. You don't know what you don't know. And so until we begin to train them and say, hey, now, man, you got to come in, you got to look people in the eye, firm handshake, have communication, man. People don't know what they know. In a lot of poverty areas, there's not a lot of teaching, there's not a lot of trainings going on. And so in our community, I said, hold on, man, we got to make it worth their while. We got to either give them a stipend. We got to do something, because if I'm taking you away for 6 weeks, hey, man, I'm going to train you to do something. You ain't got no money. That's 6 more weeks with you with no money. And so we began to do things, man. We was able to get people stipends to do things, and we was able to get them jobs that they could pay their bills. And so a lot of times, man, it's just advocating. And that's why I wrote this book, because when God puts us in these opportunities, we got to leverage it for the kingdom of Christ.
Yeah.
We got to leverage our lives for him, because if we got access to tables that our people don't have, we've got to make sure that we make it count for the Lord.
Wow.
And that's all that I've done. The unseen work, the ministry of public safety, any job that we have in the government or whatever, it should be our ministry to bring Christ and make him good. And we ain't talking about no Bible thumper or no holy roller. We're just talking about living a life where God get the glory. Pastor Randy said it earlier, man. I've been with my wife for 28 years. I got 4 children. I got 2 grandboys. And I want to live a life where that my grandkids and my kids know, man, that I put God first.
Mm.
Because I want a tribe of Rogers, man, who love the Lord. And I think that's what we have to do
A
in our
tribe of
man.
Rogers?
I want them to love the Lord,
The
man.
Rogers tribe.
To love the Lord. One of my sons is a coach. I said, that's your ministry. He coaches young kids in middle school, high school. My other kid, he's out in East Tennessee State writing papers and researching. I said, that's your ministry. Wherever God lands you, we got to move the pulpit, guys, to wherever he puts us. I mean, let me stop, man, because I'm with a preacher right now. I don't want
You're
us to
talking to Troy Rogers, who wrote a book. He's written a couple of
cover
books.
book.
Where can you find these? Are they on Amazon?
Man, you can do it on Amazon, but Pastor Randy, I would love to send them to them, because I want to meet new people.
Okay.
So if, I can give you my information, my number.
Say it right now.
Okay, so my phone number is
Wait.
Okay, hold on, Pastor.
Get a pencil and paper if you're
Okay.
listening, so
Okay.
you can write this down.
So my phone number is 423-305-2707. 423-305-2707. And my email is brightwaygroup1972 at gmail.com. Brightwaygroup, BRIGHTWAYGROUP 1972 at gmail.com. Man, send me an email, send me a text, and I'll get you a book to you, because I want to meet more people. I want to meet more people.
How much are these books going for?
These books are $20.
$20.
20
And
bucks.
it's a good investment. Now I want to ask you
Yeah, Pastor.
about collaboration
Yeah.
between public. You are working for the city of Chattanooga.
City government, yeah.
And so that's public, that's government.
Right.
But then you talked about getting jobs, hooking up.
Yeah.
So that's the private sector.
Yeah.
And you've talked about Christ, and that's the church sector.
Yes, Lord.
So you got 3 different sectors that are work.
Yeah.
How do you try to get them to work together?
Man, it's relationships. And Pastor Randy knows this, man. Their relationships are the new form of currency. Not money. I didn't grow up with a lot of money, but what I did grow up with, I grew up with love in my house. I grew up with a mama who taught me and set and built relationships. She had relationships with people at her campus, and so I could go anywhere, and I was respected because of the respect that they had for my mama. And so what we've done in our community is that we've built relationships. I'm here right now because I'm friends with Shad Gwynn.
Shad is a part of our team down here for the conference.
Community, and me and Shad do a lot in the community together. A lot of that ministry, a lot of the in the last couple of years, we've done over 300 events, man. I know Shad has probably done 50 with us. And so those are some things, relationships. Shad tell me, I need you to come. I'm coming. You ain't even got to say it twice. And so what we've been able to do, Pastor Randy, through relationships and through consistency, you got to work, you got to be consistent, and you got to build a name for yourself where people can trust you. People are tired of the phonies and the fakes and things like that. And so you build a name for yourself, and then you have things, and people want to come and help. And like I said, we got to have the church because the church has a lot of great things for our people. Because man, we need them to get saved. We need them to get busy, and we need them to preach the gospel wherever it is that they are. And so we got to bring everybody in together so that we can be whole.
Now, for those of you who are listening, again, Troy has mentioned a man's name named Shad. Shad works with me
Yep.
at First Presbyterian Church. So he represents the church community.
Yeah.
And Troy works with a lot of other people
Sure.
who are in different churches. So
Yeah.
it's not just one.
Sure.
So, the appeal is if you love your city
Come on, Pastor.
and you're a Christian or you're in a church and you say that you love God, you're also supposed to love your neighbor as yourself. And that means loving your city. And, a lot of Christians will say, I don't want anything to do with politics. I don't want anything to do with government. I got my business. They got their business. I don't trust government. But every once in a while, you get somebody like Troy who says, you know what? The city government cannot do it themselves.
Come on.
And most mayors who have any sense are going to say the same thing.
Preach.
They're going to say, we have a certain amount of money in a city budget, but city employees are not the ones who change people's hearts.
Come on.
We might be able to fill a pothole in front of your house.
Come on, Pete.
We might be able to get a new school built, but we can't always work deeply, emotionally, spiritually with the families. So look, it's all hands on deck.
Come on.
If we want to change our cities, we've got to cooperate with each other.
Let me say one thing, man. And I'm about to shout and run because he got me excited. And it's just like this. For the last 2 years at the city, I've been the Lord has given me a supervisory role over young men who came home from prison who are actually working in the community. And me and Shad was talking. I used to bring them Fridays to your church. We would pray, and then I would have my guys go to Salvation Army and feed the homeless. You wonder, like, man, you're a supervisor over these guys. You got them praying. Yes, you got them feeding the homeless, because I realized that my job as a supervisor, yeah, I'm gonna hold you accountable. Yeah, I'm gonna teach you how to do work, but I'm gonna teach you how to pray, and I want God to give you a fire to serve other people, because at the core of who we are is service. I'm not who I am if I'm not serving anybody else. And so what we was able to do, man, like I was telling Pastor Ray, I was testifying yesterday because we were in the car, is that all of my guys, I'm no longer in that position anymore, but all of my guys are serving the Lord. One, two, they have their nonprofits. Three, they're reaching out to young men just like themselves. That's the ministry of public safety. We can't have people under our bailiwick and we not help them know Jesus better.
Okay, Troy's being an evangelist now.
Hey, Shala.
Folks, we are here in Orlando, Florida.
Hey.
We're here for a conference called Exponential.
Let me chill out.
And we drove down together from Chattanooga. It's about 8-hour drive. And so we had a great time. We did a little sleeping.
Yeah, hey,
except for the driver.
I slept a lot.
But we're here, and obviously we had this opportunity to be on the show today.
Yeah.
And Brother Bruce Wall is overwhelmed with a whole lot of other things, but we're grateful that he's letting us speak to you. And we're talking really about a very public concern. You don't have to be a Christian to be concerned about crime in your city.
Come on, Pastor.
Crime will affect anybody. And, you may say if you're a middle-class person, you might have a great education. You might have a great family. You may have plenty of money. And you say, I don't care about those ex-cons. I don't care about homeless people. I don't care about single-parent moms. It's none of my business. I'm taking care of myself. And that person that you don't care about one day might stick a gun in your face.
Come on, Pastor.
and shoot you, your wife, your children, or just drive by, start shooting, and you think, man, if 10 years ago I had invested in that person's life, if a few years before they did this drive-by, I had tutored them in school, if I had picked them up and brought them to Sunday school, if I had worked in some kind of program,
Yeah, that's it.
Maybe their life would have been changed so they would not have committed that crime. Now, I'm not blaming you for their crime. Every
Right.
person who sins or
Right.
commits a crime, it's their fault, and they need to be accountable for it. We know that.
Right.
But we are not going to change our culture unless more of God's people become salt and light. As Jesus said, you're the salt of the earth, you're the light of the world, and you got to do some good works. And those good works are getting down and dirty with the poor.
Come on.
At whatever level you can do it, whether it's hands-on on the street, or if it's in a school, if you say, hey, I just want something professional and clean, there's opportunities for you.
Let me say this. Pastor got me, and in my book, I don't know. I give you research. I give you about 100 pages of MOUs and things that I've did in the past. I give you all that type of stuff. But in chapter 12, I charge you, and I want to read the charge before we get out of here. I said public safety is often misunderstood. Too many reduce it to uniforms, sirens, and jail cells. But real safety begins long before an officer arrives. Pastor Randy just alluded to that. It starts when people of faith, neighbors, leaders, and mentors step forward with hope, resources, and a conviction that a person's story is not finished. I'm about to go. The unseen work is not glamorous. There are no parades, flashing lights, or headlines. It's long nights, hard conversations, small breakthroughs, and slow trust building. Yet this work is holy. It is a ministry, and like all true ministry, it demands faith, sacrifice, and vision. Except the Lord builds the house, they labor in vain that build it. Psalms 127:1. Another scripture that I have is that you have to write the vision, make it plain upon tablets, that he may run that read it, for Habakkuk 2:2. So don't think that this book is amazing, but don't you think that I'm not coming back to the bedrock of our faith, and why we do what we do is to give the glory and the praise to Jesus Christ. I walk in these houses, Dr. Maddox, Robert Maddox asked me yesterday, man, you don't have a gun? And yeah, rightfully so, in my position, I'm supposed to have one, but I walk in these houses with faith, because if at any time my life is taken, then I've been it taken, living the life doing that I wanted to do. So I feel like I've lived a good death, because I'm covered by let me stop, Pastor. We got to go. I'm covered by the Master. And
Hey,
so,
well, let's talk about that for a moment, because
hey,
every
I'm
once in
sorry.
a while we get
Sorry.
to a point in our program
Woo!
where we can talk about how people need to get saved, about how people need to come to faith in Jesus Christ. And as Troy has just said, it's a wonderful thing to be able to live for something greater than yourself. And an awful lot, we talk about the American dream. We talk about, you need to own a house.
Jesus.
You want to have a pretty wife or a
Jesus.
good looking husband. You want a decent income, and of course, in America, a lot of people, they want to get rich quick. They don't want to do the hard work to get there. But whether you do the hard work or you're trying to get rich quick, we're trying to tell you that at the end of it, you might lose your own soul.
Come on.
Because that's what Jesus said. What does it profit a man
To lose his
if
whole.
he gains the whole world and loses his own soul? And what that basically means is you have found something else to invest in than your own life. Jesus said, lay up for yourself treasures in heaven where rust and moths don't corrupt. Because everything you own, everything you've got is going to perish. Even your body is going to perish. So you need to invest in a future that is incorruptible, that nothing can destroy. And that inheritance is found only in Jesus Christ. He has a salvation waiting in heaven for you if you will give your life to him. And when we're talking about give your life to him, we're talking about a beautiful life. We're talking about a life of meaning. I mean, if you actually see people's lives change because you show some love, you see a little boy and girl who's been destitute without parenting,
Come on, Bishop.
you
Come on.
know, and you teach them how to read, you become a big brother, big sister, you become a mentor, you become a tutor, you become a Sunday school teacher. You know, I tell you, there's a blessed work. It's called being a Sunday school teacher. And you don't hear as much about it, but you know, Sunday school was originally started for literacy. It was started by Christians, especially in Scotland and England, who said, we got all of these children who are illiterate, they do not know God, and they work. Some of them were working by age 10 or 9 in the coal mines. They were working in the factories. They didn't go to school. The only day off they had was Sunday. And so the Christians said, you come to Sunday school, we're going to teach you how to read. Because you don't have to live the rest of your life like this. So I just want to encourage you that you would catch the call to live for something greater than yourself.
Preach. I'm just in my book right now, and on page 30, I said the Bible says that hope deferred makes the heart sick. That's Proverbs 13:12. And who can be productive without hope? Who can give their family a job a great day if they have none? This also results in more collateral damage when there is nothing to look forward to. Collateral damage affects the children who feel a sense of emptiness because their family is broken. These often are the kids who commit crimes and look for love in all the wrong places, not because they're bad, but because they have never felt what a loving home should be like. Gangs prey on these kids because they too need their love tank filled. And so, as Pastor Randy said, we got to be the hands and feet of Jesus with our young people because they're looking for love in all the wrong places. And as we get our families together and as we do better as husbands and as we lead our kids and our family in Christ, we will have more outposts of the kingdom. I want to go back to the first Bible study in the Word was Cornelius, and Cornelius was a man of the people, and people respected him, and they knew was it Peter that was coming? Somebody was coming, and they had a home Bible study
To Cornelius'
to Cornelius' house.
Mm-hmm. Now, hey, Troy, can you tell us
Go ahead, Pastor.
practically
Okay.
what kind of programs you do with gangs or violence reduction?
Practically, okay, it's easy. When we did practically Mondays, we did a thing called Real Talk Mondays. That's a program that we have for young people to come to the centers in our most violent area and have a meal and have real conversations. On Tuesdays, we did a thing called Taco Tuesdays. Taco Tuesdays is a program that we had where young men come, we shoot basketball, but then we give you a leadership lesson. We feed you, we mentor you, we love you, then we let you go home. Wednesday, we fed the Bayberries, Pastor Randy. The Bayberries.
That's an apartment
That's an
complex.
apartment complex. At the time, was the most dangerous housing development that we had because they had kind of knocked down a lot of the other projects in Chattanooga. We called it We Wednesdays. Every Wednesday, Pastor Randy, we would come, we would feed you a meal, love on you, and pass out resources for you. On Thursday, we had a thing called basketball nights. Pastor Randy, all of these things are in our 37404 Orchard Knob Zone 3 area where we would have a meal. I would bring in an employer that would come in, Pastor Randy, and talk about jobs. They would talk about jobs. People would be able to apply for jobs, apply for school. We shoot basketball for 2 hours, then we eat a meal. On Friday, we're in the unit. We're in the unit.
What's the unit?
The unit, we're in the JDC, the Juvenile Detention Center unit on Fridays from 9:15 to 11:15, talking to our young people who are incarcerated. Fridays at 1 o'clock, we did this thing called Fist Bump Fridays. Pastor Randy would come with Shad at Orchard Knob Middle School, where we would love on the kids, bring in people who look like them. We would do all type of good stuff, and then we would feed them.
Okay, we're talking about like a school assembly program where we get pizza for all the kids. We have some inspirational music and celebrate the kids and talk about positive outcomes. So it's just a celebration. And it's called what again?
It's called Fist Bump Fridays. And so another thing that we did, we do ministry in the treatment centers. That's CATUS. So we go into CATUS.
That's Chattanooga area
drug and treatment facility.
Okay.
We go into Cadis and we talk, man. And I, like I said, we had to be careful, but I would always apologize. But we would mentor and motivate and just talk to them about getting their life together and tell them how they can use their platform for greater later. Oh, I'm about to shout and we got to go for greater later. And I would bring Shad in. He would talk about Rafa and some of the ministries that they do at Pastor Randy's church. And we would just let them know. I got several of them young guys who now from Cadis are going to my church and being discipled. Mm-hmm. And so it's just a hodgepodge of practical things that you have so that young people and old people that can get their hand on Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
You want some more? I got more. You want more? Yeah, I practical programs.
You got a couple minutes.
I got a couple minutes. And so also we do mentor groups in the schools, Red Bank High School, Brainerd High School. We have a group at Orchard Knob Middle School. And these are hour time slots. There's some data that says that when you mentor a kid for 1 hour a week for 52 weeks, the threshold, 52 hours a year, the kid makes better decisions during that time. And so what we've done, we've always looked for that 52 hours threshold during the year. So every week we have a mentoring collaborative at the schools in our community where we're just pouring into our kids.
Man, that's awesome.
Now, so what we've been doing here recently, man, we've been talking about emotional regulation because as me, Pastor Randy, man, nobody ever taught us to regulate our emotions when we were younger. When we didn't like something, I came up, we didn't shoot that pistol, but we fired these two right here. We fired this 1 and 2, and so now we're helping our young people to master their emotions, and so that is one thing that I've been working on as a father, as a husband, and as a worker. Because the one misnomer, Pastor Rand did tell you, when you do stand up for Christ, there's some people tell they say stuff that make you upset, and it's off the wall, and they get political with you, trying to kind of slow down and shut down the things that you're trying to do. And sometimes if we don't really, we be so gung-ho sometimes, man, that we get upset. And I'm working on that right now to be able to listen to what and be able to move on for the greater good. Genesis 50:20 says, what the enemy meant for evil,
yes,
God meant for good.
Yes.
I'm sorry, we ain't got time. But that is where we are. And no weapon formed against you shall prosper. So I want to encourage every one of our listeners, man, use your platform for Christ. Because at the end of the day, when we have to go back and be with them, it ain't gonna care about what kind of car we drove. He don't care nothing about what kind of house we did. But who did you win to me? Who did you bring into Christ? Who one of my guys went, Pastor Randy got out of prison. I'm about to go. Hey, he got out of prison and said, Mr. Troy, I want to do two things. He said, I want to get my kids and I want to start a business. Theodore Sanders. And I began to mentor him. But I told him, but the foundation in that is Jesus Christ. People know, man, how you do what you do and how you look. I said, the Lord, I put the God first. It's all about Jesus for me. And so, man, now after mentoring, man, he has his own business, Sanders Remodeling, and he got custody of both of his kids.
There you go.
Yeah, he did 6 years in prison, couldn't read and write, but he knew one thing.